I'll be honest with you. Right now, I feel like I'm living out of boxes. Every corner of this house reminds me of her. Every mug on the kitchen counter reminds me of what used to be our breakfast together. Now it's just a reminder of lies. We've been married for over 5 years. And all that time, I believed we had the kind of love people dream about. Laughter in the kitchen, late-night plans for vacations we could barely afford, even stupid little fights about who forgot to take the trash out. I thought that was what marriage was supposed to be. But the truth is, I was living in an illusion. Everything I believed in cracked wide open one ordinary evening. I'll never forget it. Her phone was sitting on the kitchen table, I was making pasta, the TV was murmuring in the background. Then the screen lit up. It was a name I didn't recognize and a message that made my hands go cold. I can't wait to see you again. At first, I froze. I told myself maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it was a joke or just a friend. But my gut already knew the truth. I sat down at that table, staring at the phone like I could dive into it and find all the answers. And that's when something inside me snapped. The world I'd built over years crumbled in a single second. But maybe I should go back, because this didn't start with one message. It was a slow poison. A poison that had been dripping into our marriage drop by drop. We met in college. Back then, I was working night shifts at a grocery store just to pay for classes. She was standing in the library pulling books on psychology from the shelf. I remember her eyes, sharp, alive, like she could see through me. I didn't have the courage to speak. But a week later, we bumped into each other again at a coffee shop. This time, she made the first move. "You're that guy who always looks tired, right?" she said with a smirk. I laughed, and just like that, our story began. Those first months felt like a dream. We could walk for hours with nothing but cheap coffee and paper cups. I felt like I had finally found someone who understood me. She talked about her dreams, becoming a therapist, opening her own office. I listened and believed she could do anything. Her family welcomed me in right away. Her mom made me dinners. Her brother teased me for being too serious. I thought, this is it. This is my place in the world. We eventually moved in together. It was a tiny apartment with paper-thin walls where neighbors heard our laughter and our arguments. For months, we slept on a mattress on the floor, and somehow that felt romantic. I worked, she studied. We saved every dollar, but still found room for small joys. Friday night pizza, spontaneous road trips to the next town over, endless selfies on an old phone where we always looked so happy. I believed this was the start of something great. Of course, we fought, sometimes about milk or groceries, sometimes because she felt ignored and I felt exhausted. But I thought that was normal. That's what couples do. And every time we made up, I felt closer to her. She had this way of hugging me that made everything else disappear. She'd whisper, "We'll figure it out, right?" And I always said yes. 3 years in, we got married. The wedding was small, but it was beautiful. I still remember my hands shaking as I slid the ring on her finger. I remember fighting back tears when I promised to love her forever. In that moment, I believed it was forever. Everyone told us we were the perfect couple, and I was proud of that because I believed it was true. But perfect pictures rarely tell the full story. At first, it was small changes. She stayed late at work more often. She came home tired, distant. I thought it was just stress. I tried to help, made her dinner, brought her tea, but she pulled away more and more. "I just need space," she'd say. I respected that. I convinced myself she was just going through a rough patch. But then came that feeling. You know the one. When your gut whispers that something's off. When you find yourself listening too closely to the silence in your own home. Her phone was always glued to her hand. Even in the shower, it stayed in the bathroom. She smiled at the screen more than she smiled at me, and I pretended not to notice, because the truth is scarier than any suspicion. But one night, her phone was left on the table, and that's when everything changed.
When I picked up her phone, my hands were shaking. I told myself not to look. I told myself it would only hurt me. But I looked anyway. There were messages, dozens of them. Some were innocent, about work or schedules, but most weren't. The way she wrote to him, she never texted me like that anymore. Flirty jokes, late-night confessions, little hearts at the end of every sentence. One message made my chest tighten. "Last night was perfect. I can't stop thinking about you." I put the phone down like it was burning my hand. I walked away from the table and sat on the couch. My heart was pounding so loud, I felt the neighbors could hear it. I didn't want it to be real. She came home minutes later, smiling, humming like nothing was wrong. I couldn't even look at her. When she noticed my face, her smile dropped. "What's wrong?" she asked. And I asked the only question that mattered. "Who is he?" Her face changed. Not shock, not guilt. Anger, like I had no right to ask. She snatched the phone off the table, her voice sharp, defensive. "Why are you going through my stuff?" I said because I needed to know. I needed the truth. There was silence. Her eyes darted everywhere but at me. Then she said, almost casually, "We're just friends." I laughed, but it came out broken. "Friends don't say the things you said to him." She rolled her eyes. "You're overreacting." I wanted her to deny it. I wanted her to grab my hand and swear it wasn't what it looked like. But she didn't. Instead, she turned it around on me. "You never make me feel special anymore. You don't listen. You're always tired." And suddenly, it was all my fault. Her betrayal was my weakness. Her lies were my mistakes. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling while she turned her back to me in bed. My mind replayed every moment, every late night, every excuse, every fake smile. I felt sick. The next morning, I packed a bag and went to my parents' house. I told them I needed space. I didn't explain. How could I? She blew up my phone with texts. "Come home. Stop being dramatic. If you leave, you'll regret it." Not once did she say, "I'm sorry." Not once did she admit what she did. And that hurt more than anything. After a few days, I came back. Not because I forgave her, but because I was desperate for answers. I needed to look her in the eye and hear the truth. When I walked into the apartment, he was there, sitting on our couch like he belonged. He didn't even flinch when he saw me. He just smirked, like I was the intruder. I looked at her. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I asked her, "Is this really happening?" She whispered, "I don't know what I want." That sentence shattered me. Not, "I love you," not, "Please don't leave," just uncertainty. For the next week, it was chaos. She bounced between us like we were options on a menu. One night she swore she wanted me. The next she disappeared with him. I was drowning in confusion and pain. I begged her to cut ties with him. She cried when I asked, not because of me, but because he'd be hurt. Imagine hearing that from your wife. My breaking point came when I checked our bills. She had co-signed a loan with him. She bought him a truck. She even put a utility bill in her name for his place. I realized then I wasn't her husband anymore. I was just background, the safety net while she built a life with someone else. I confronted her again. Her words cut deeper than any knife. "I never loved you. You disgust me. You're pathetic for begging." I felt my world collapse. The woman I once believed was my forever looked at me like I was nothing. And in that moment, I believed her. I left again, back to my parents' house. Her family called me, confused, upset. They couldn't believe what she was doing. Her own sister told me to stop fighting for her. She said it's not worth it. And deep down, I knew she was right. But my heart wouldn't let go. I kept asking myself, how do you stop loving someone who's already stopped loving you?
She kept reaching out after I left, not to apologize, not to fix things, but to keep me hooked. Late-night texts saying, "I miss you," morning messages asking, "Do you still love me?" But every time I asked her to prove it, to show me by cutting him off, she refused. I wasn't her husband anymore. I was her safety net, and I couldn't live like that. So I filed for divorce. I sat in a lawyer's office signing papers I never thought I'd see. My hands trembled with every signature. Each page felt like burying a dream. When I told her, she laughed. "Good. Maybe now I'll finally be happy." Her words stung, but they also freed me. Her family didn't laugh. They called me, one by one. Her mom cried, her sister cursed her out. Even her grandfather, lying in a hospital bed, told me I was too good for this. And yet she blamed me. She said I turned her family against her. She said I ruined her chance at happiness, as if her choices weren't her own. I tried to reason with her once more. I asked, why him? Why betray me instead of just leaving? She snapped back, because you're weak. He makes me feel alive. Weak. That word echoed in my head for days. It almost broke me. But then I realized, what kind of strength does it take to destroy your own marriage? That's not strength. That's selfishness. Her new boyfriend was older, old enough to know better. I learned he had a history of failed relationships, even a daughter close to her age. It made me sick. I heard him yelling at her over the phone once, calling her names, belittling her, and yet she stayed there. Maybe out of fear, maybe out of pride, maybe just to spite me. But that wasn't my fight anymore. I couldn't save her. I could only save myself. The day the divorce papers were finalized, I sat in my car for an hour. I didn't cry. I didn't celebrate. I just breathed. For the first time in years, I felt air in my lungs again. When I got home, my parents hugged me like I'd been gone for decades. My mom whispered, "You're free now." And for the first time, I believed her. I cut all ties with her family too. Not because I didn't love them, but because I needed to heal, and they understood. Now I sit in this half-empty house telling this story. Sometimes I wonder if I should have fought harder. Sometimes I wonder if I was truly at fault. But deep down, I know the truth. I gave everything I had. I loved with everything in me, and it still wasn't enough. Maybe it never could have been. Maybe some people just aren't built for loyalty. Maybe some people chase excitement until it ruins them. I don't hate her. I don't even wish her pain. I just wish I'd seen the signs sooner. I wish I'd loved myself enough to walk away the first time she betrayed me. Because love shouldn't feel like begging. Love shouldn't feel like proving your worth every single day. Love shouldn't feel like losing yourself just to keep someone else. I'm moving forward now, one step at a time. Some days are easier than others. Some nights still feel unbearable. But I know I'll make it. And maybe someday I'll meet someone who won't make me question my value. Someone who doesn't need a secret to feel alive. Someone who just wants me. Until then, I have myself. And maybe that's enough. So I'll end this with a question for you. If you found out the person you loved most had betrayed you, would you fight to save it? Or would you walk away like I finally did?